Today I will show you what I did to actually master the violin after struggling for years, and how you could do the same even as an adult beginner. After playing the violin for 30 years and teaching hundreds of students, I found that there are only 5 things you need to get good at the violin. And today I will show you exactly what I did and what I recommend to all my students, starting with building block 1. Stop practicing and start planning. My first teacher always told me you just need to practice more. Or be patient, someday it will sound very good. And that's how I wasted many years. But then I had a new teacher in Paris, Jean, that was a really amazing violin teacher. With him we did something completely different. What he did is that we started planning. Instead of just practicing, we start really planning what I need to do to go from where I was to where I wanted to be. And then I really started doing consistent progress week after week, month after month. That's one of the main problems I see by most adults learning the violin. They just practice very often, actually way more than they really need, but they don't really have a plan. So this is, for example, the plan we use with our students at the Violinacademy. And there are in total more than 250 steps. So the first thing you really need to master is to have a beautiful sound on open strings. That means that when you play some open strings, it just sounds beautiful. It just sounds really well. The next step is to start playing with the left hand. And for the left hand, that's the same. You don't want to start practicing on all 4 strings, okay? Like I see a lot of people do. Instead, you really want to learn first only 1 string. For example, with our students in level 1, we learn only the D string. And here, the same. When you learn the D string, there is a lot of notes, okay? You could play. Okay, there is different tonality and there is 4 different fingers. What we do, for example, is that first we start only with first and second finger, then we introduce the third finger and then the fourth finger. And all of that in the second finger pattern. We don't learn directly other finger patterns. Those are, for example, some simple exercises our students do on the D string with the simplest combination, like F sharp to G, G to A, and always in the 3 basic rhythm: half note, quarter note, eighth note. Then you could do some scale like here on 1 strings and train the 4th finger very systematically with all combination: 3 to 4, 2 to 4, 1 to 4, 0 to 4. And then only they learn the A string with the 1st finger pattern, then the G string with the 3rd finger pattern, and last the E string with the 4th finger pattern. And then we start learning string changes with the left hand. And then we start doing 1 octave exercise on 2 string and 3 strings, and so on and so on. And by the way, we organize a free violin masterclass. You will find the link below this video. Building block 2, critical learning. One of the biggest mistakes I made was to learn with my first teachers, because I learned a lot of things wrong. And the problem was that later I had to relearn everything I learned, because all my basic technique was wrong. The way I was holding the violin, the way I was holding the bow, the way I played, the way I practiced, all those bad habits that were stopping me from making any more progress and making sure that when I play it doesn't really sound like I wanted. And I remember when I started learning with Jean, that was one of the best violin teachers, I thought he is too expensive, why I need to pay so much? But you know, now when I think about it, I will pay anything to someone I know can teach me that is the best teacher, because it's how you learn the fastest. And yeah, it's one of the biggest mistakes I see a lot of people do, is that they try just different methods and they look a lot of YouTube videos or read some random books, and doing that, they just learn a lot of things wrong. What happened a lot is that they come to me and ask me, okay, what can I do to improve my technique? I'm not satisfied with how it sounds. And always, after I look them playing, I need to say them that they need to start again from the beginning to learn the right basics. Because you can't just correct a few things at this level if the basics are not there. You really need to repeat them the right way. And that's why it's so important to learn from the beginning the right basic, to do everything right from the beginning. And if you're asking yourself, how do I know I'm learning the right way? There is a very easy way to know that. Just record yourself and listen critically to your recordings. If it doesn't sound beautifully, that means that you are doing something wrong. That's all. And that brings us to building block 3. Learn from your own mistakes is bullshit. Sorry to say this like that, but I hear a lot of people that think like the best way to learn is to learn from your own mistake. But that's not true. The best way to learn is not to learn from your own mistakes, is to learn from the mistakes of other people. So you don't need to do the same mistake as they did. And it doesn't mean that you can't learn from your own mistake. It should not be your primary way of learning. And especially when you are learning the violin, it's something very old. It makes more than 300 years that there are a lot of people who try to become the best at the instrument, that studied everything about how to learn it the best way. There was like hundreds of amazing violin teachers. I studied hundreds of books to learn from all those amazing teachers. And the thing is that you don't need to start from scratch like you were the first person learning the violin in the world. There was already 300 years of people who find out what is the most effective way to learn the violin. It doesn't mean you can't try to do it alone, but it's the slowest way to learn and it's the surest way to learn a lot of things wrong. And actually, when you look at how the best violinists worldwide learned the violin, what you really understand is that every single one of them learned with the best violin teachers worldwide, but every single one of them, the father was himself a professional violinist and was always teaching at home, so they definitely didn't learn alone and they definitely didn't learn from their own mistakes. Don't try to learn the violin learning only from your own mistake, or you will need hundreds of years. If you want that it sounds really beautifully, of course. Building block 4. Don't learn the violin like a 4 years old as an adult. So, if you look at the history of modern methods, you will see that all the newest methods that were invented in the last 50, 70 years were developed especially for teaching small children, starting with 3 years old, 4 years old. One big thing with those methods is that they really need to motivate the children to keep playing. And because of that, they are playing mostly pieces, playing them with nice accompaniment, playing together with the teachers and other people together, all things that are really fun. But the problem here is that it's very, very difficult to master the violin so that it sounds beautifully learning like that. Especially if you are not a 4 years old but an adult. Because adults can't learn just by imitating someone else. It's a very different way of learning. And here again, when I look at all the years I wasted practicing the violin, 5 hours a day, that were the years where I played the most. I gave a lot of concerts, I played with a lot of people together, but I did very little technique. In opposite, the years when I did the biggest progress, like more in 1 year than 5 years of just playing, that was the years where I was practicing 3-4 hours every day of technical exercises and etudes. And that's the reason with all our students at the Violinacademy, we do 50% of the time technical exercises. Building block 5, how to stay consistent years after years. Very sadly, a lot of people give up with the violin. And the reason is very simple. Basically, it's because they don't have any more fun playing the violin, because when they play, it doesn't sound beautifully, and because they are feeling they are not making any progress. If you really want to master the violin and be able in a few years to play everything you want and do everything you want with it, what's very important is to stay consistent. And for that, there is 2 things you need to do. The first one is that you need to make sure that when you play, it sounds beautifully from the start. Not in 1 month, not in 2 years, right from the beginning. By learning the right basics step by step. And the second thing is that you need to make sure that you make regularly progress, that you really can see your progress month after month. And here again, the most important point is to learn the violin step by step, to learn the right way from the beginning, and to have someone mentor you all along the way. And don't forget something very important that I learned with hundreds of students. It doesn't matter how old you are or how talented you are, if you want it, you can learn to play the violin beautifully. Thanks for watching.